An historic weekend in World SBK, the first Hungarian round in 35 years, and from a new venue, the Balaton Park circuit, 85 kilometres and a 50-minute drive southwest of capital Budapest. The 8th date of 12 on the 2025 calendar, and the last before a 5-week summer break. Only 2 years old, the new Balaton Park circuit, located 120 kilometres from the southwest of former venue the Hungaroring, making it an attractive proposition for travelling Austrian, Slovenian and Croatian fans, as well as local followers starved of international motorcycle racing in Grand Prix and World SBK for over 30 years. We were originally due to visit last year, but circuit modifications to meet FIM safety standards postponed that date. They've also made for a more technical layout. Short straights, the longest at only 668 metres, but 3 heavy braking zones will present overtaking opportunities. Into turn 1 with a stopping distance of over 200 metres, turn 5 where speeds drop from 270 to 70 kilometres per hour, and the tricky turn 15 where errors are severely punished by a deep gravel trap on the exit. Hungarian engineer Ferenc Galacsi has designed what is our slowest circuit on the calendar, 149 kilometres per hour on yesterday's pole lap. The race lap record, a 1 minute 39.732 set by Toprak Razgatlioglu in race 1. Nicolo Bulliger has now suffered 3 non-scores in Tissot Superpole races, where Toprak Razgatlioglu has been victorious. A mechanical failure in Assen, a crash in which he was admittedly blameless at the Emilia-Romagna round, and the wrong tyre choice this morning in drying conditions, costing him 36 points in total to the series leader. This morning, Razgatlioglu won his 6th Superpole race in 8 rounds. Pole, 2 fastest laps, 2 wins this weekend so far, now chasing his 3rd consecutive hat-trick. Steve English alongside me for race 2 of this 2025 Hungarian round. This morning delivered all the pomp and ceremony that you'd expect for a milestone 1,000th race, but it was also business as usual for Toprak Razgatlioglu.
Yeah, it was, and obviously with the 1,000th race, it was also quite fitting that Toprak was the guy that was able to claim that race victory. But he had to work hard for it. He made a mistake in the middle of the race and then had to attack back to get himself back to the front. Bulliger's decision to use the intermediate tyres, it was very clear from lap 1 onwards this was never going to work for him, and then it's a case of trying to have damage limitation. He took the risk. He was the one that zigged when everyone else zagged, and it cost him badly. But even of the other intermediate runners, he was behind them. He was behind Petrucci, he was behind Lowe's, and for Bulliger, just didn't get the job done this morning.
Win number 14 then for Toprak Razgatlioglu this season, compared to only 8 for Nicolo Bulliger. The key this morning was to be on a slick tyre, as you've said. Nicolo Bulliger, Danilo Petrucci and Alex Lowe's among 7 riders who chose an intermediate rear, and all of them failed to score. Bulliger's 4th non-score of the season. He now sits 21 points behind in the championship. Sam Lowe's recorded his 3rd podium of the campaign, all of them so far in the Superpole race, so he'll be hoping for a big score from race 2 this afternoon. Alvaro Bautista, with his 3rd consecutive podium finish, beat teammate Bulliger for the first time this season. Elsewhere, Ryan Vickers and Taz McKenzie take advantage of tricky track conditions to take their best results yet in World SBK. Jonathan Ray scores in the Superpole race for the 3rd round in a row. A weekend of attrition. We had a 7-rider pile-up yesterday that's forced 4 riders out of contention, and then a lot of further change, obviously, to the grid for race 2 here this afternoon. But no change to those top 2 positions. Razgatlioglu and Sam Lowe's the fastest men all weekend so far.
Yeah, all weekend they've been the 2 riders to beat. Bautista's up there in the front row of the grid, and we'll see what Bulliger can do from the 4th row. We'll see if Andrea Locatelli, always quick off the line on the Yamaha. He was 3rd in the Superpole session. He's going to start this one from 4th, finished 4th yesterday as well. He's on a great run of form with all those top 5 finishes from the last 3 rounds. So for him, we'll see if he's able to get in the mix from the start as well.
Yeah, quite right. Just 13 points now, covering 3 riders in the battle for 3rd overall in the championship. Up at the top, as we've said, 21 points now the lead for Toprak Razgatlioglu. It's amazing to think that the margin was bigger in the other direction when we left Most in May. We've had 2 rounds on this one, and suddenly it's all swung in favour of Toprak Razgatlioglu. In total control at the moment, just 1 defeat in the last 10 races for him.
Yeah, this is the mistake Toprak made in the middle of the race. You can see he runs right off the track into turn 1, comes back in front of Bautista in 3rd position, managed to attack Bautista then pretty quickly, and then he had Petrucci and Sam Lowe's in front of him as well. And for Razgatlioglu, able to come through on Sam here into turn 1, and from that point onwards he was able to open up a little bit of a gap. But these two have been the pace setters, and you'd certainly expect that with Bautista on that front row of the grid, they'll be the 3 riders to beat.
Yeah, what does it take for someone to get the better of Toprak Razgatlioglu? Because at the moment, he's been winning for fun, and when he's riding in that vein and in that confidence, we saw what he could do with those 13 consecutive victories last year.
Yeah, and we know exactly what Toprak's capable of. We've seen it time and again over the last few years. He is the best rider in this championship. He may not have the best bike on the grid, but he has a bike that's good enough for him to be able to win all these races and be able to lead the championship. And at the end of the day, at the end of the 2 years that he's going to be with BMW whenever he decides to move to MotoGP next year, could well have wrapped up 2 world championships and really cemented his status, not as the greatest superbike rider of all time by the stats, but as the best superbike rider we've ever seen.
Yes, this is Sam Lowe's, who will line up alongside him on the front row of the grid. Lowe's with 3 podium finishes in the Superpole race format. Big monkey to get off his back here and get a podium in a feature-length race, and you'd have to say would be well-deserved, had the pace to do it all weekend long.
Yeah, we said on Friday that one of the big things for Sam this weekend was to manage to make that next step. He's had 2 podiums coming into this weekend in the Superpole race, a 3rd one now. He needs that feature-length race.
Much changed grid compared to the results from Superpole, with 4 riders unfit, and obviously the topsy-turvy Superpole race with varying strategies on tyre choice. The 3 riders who drop out of the top 9 here all chose an intermediate rear. Nicolo Bulliger, Danilo Petrucci and Alex Lowe's must line up on row 4. Several big winners. Alvaro Bautista originally qualified P7, he's now up to P3. Xavi Vierge gains 4 places to 5th, but most notably, Bassani up P20 to 6th, Vickers P16 in Superpole now up to 7th, and Mackenzie climbs from P21 to P8. Andrea Locatelli down 1 place to 4th, but the 2 riders who haven't changed starting positions at the front, Toprak Razgatlioglu and Sam Lowe's, certainly the fastest 2 men at this Balaton Park circuit.
Yeah, they have been all the way through the weekend. Just about Taz Mackenzie as well, and Ryan Vickers, their career best efforts in the Superpole race. Vickers 7th on the grid, and did a really good job. He was out there with a wet setup, so managed to really put in a very solid performance to come away with that top 9 finish. Mackenzie made a late decision to switch on to the slicks and paid off handsomely.
Making our way up the order then, Nicolo Bulliger with a lot of work to do, and we have seen he's not been the quickest off the line over the last couple of rounds, and those first few laps looked a little bit vulnerable throughout this weekend. It's an awful lot of work to do to even think about getting on terms with Toprak Razgatlioglu. Likely we're looking at a damage limitation exercise here, and that's going to be a challenge big enough.
Yeah, very difficult to see how he gets on terms with Toprak, but should be able to make progress through the field. We saw Petrucci from the back of the grid yesterday able to come away with a top 5 finish.
Well, Nicolo Bulliger really needs to be winning races, but at very least he can't afford to hemorrhage points as he did in the Superpole race earlier on today. 12 given up to Toprak Razgatlioglu, who now leads it by 21, and the risk to Bulliger is particularly from the likes of Sam Lowe's and Alvaro Bautista here. They're on the front row. Bulliger's got to pass 6 bikes before he can get to them, and that's the mountain that he's got to climb. And when you think about the pace sort of from 1/3 distance on yesterday of Alvaro Bautista, he was certainly able to match Bulliger. So if he's in front of him by lap 7 or 8, there's a chance for Bautista to beat his teammate once again here.
Yeah, and if Bautista's in front of Bulliger, it's just more and more points that Bulliger's going to lose to Toprak. Ducati have said that they won't bring team orders into play, and at the end of the day, they don't really have much say over Alvaro Bautista whenever you know that he's not going to be a rider for them next year.
Toprak Razgatlioglu won't be with BMW next season either, but he is looking set to depart as double world champion. I mean, he was already BMW's greatest rider about halfway through last season, and cementing that status. But they have got to the stage now where they're pretty much applauding everything because they know the miracle that Toprak is producing this season.
Yeah, exactly. And they also know that that run will come to an end at Jerez because they need to figure out what their future is. It looks like Danilo Petrucci is going to be the man to replace Toprak, but they're massive shoes to fill. Massive,
no doubt about that. Toprak Razgatlioglu, the man who has won 8 consecutive races now. His last defeat was race 2 of the Czech round, and even that weekend he was the top scorer, only dropping 5 points. So 4 rounds in a row where Razgatlioglu has been the top performer, has been the man to beat. The championship swings now back in his favour, and this race 2 is just another opportunity to further extend that lead. Sam Lowes will line up alongside him, P2. His race results from the Superpole race earlier on today. It's the same place he earned in the Superpole session originally, and a well-earned podium earlier on. He didn't do anything silly, get flustered once Toprak came through. He knew he couldn't go with him, settled in for a nice second place.
Yeah, exactly, and really solid effort once again from Sam in the Superpole race. 3 podiums in those races this season shows the step he's made.
Yes, all in Superpole races thus far. 3 podiums in a row for Alvaro Bautista, who will start third. All of them have been third places. Only 2 second places, 1 in race 2 in Australia, 1 in race 2 in the Netherlands. And those have been the sort of most chaotic weekends of this season so far, let's say. But Bautista has shown enough pace to match Bulliger here and starts 3 rows in front of his teammates.
Yeah, and for Alvaro, we have seen it where he's looked more competitive all the way through the weekend. Started from 7th on the grid, which again isn't that impressive for a factory Ducati rider, but for Bautista we've seen it at times where he's been further down the order and it makes it impossible to recover through the pack. He did a good job off the line in both races yesterday too.
Yes, last few rounds have been uninspiring for Alvaro Bautista in terms of those qualifying performances, as you say. Toprak Razgatlioglu with yet another Tissot watch, and the burgeoning cabinet, of course, filled with the trophy from this morning's Superpole race as well, the 1000th race, the special commemorative trophy for that one. So Razgatlioglu will now move into position to line up on the front row of the grid alongside Sam Lowes and Alvaro Bautista. Second row of the grid for Andrea Locatelli, Xavi Vierge and Axel Bersani. Locatelli, yet another 4th position for him in his last 6 races. 5 of them have been 4th places and 1 5th at the UK round. Hasn't been out of the top 5 though since Most.
Yeah, and that's really impressive, and that's exactly what you want to see from Locatelli. He's taken on that leadership role for Yamaha over the last couple of years.
Certainly leading for Honda this weekend in the absence of Iker Lecuona with injury following that race 1 crash. Xavi Vierge, 8th in race 1. 5th in the Superpole race. That's as good as anything he's done this season. Was also 5th in race 1 in Portimao and the first 2 races of the weekend in Cremona. So this tight circuit seemingly working well enough for Xavi Vierge, and it looks as though he solved a couple of the issues that were blighting him under braking yesterday. Well, it is the first Hungarian round since 1990. We enjoyed some local dance yesterday, and something further here for you. Some Hungarian folk music and dance for you there. Anthony Nelson, which folk have you found on the grid?
I am next to Alvaro Bautista. He's just having a very, very quick word with his data engineer right now, getting a couple of settings for the race. I think they've just finished that quick chat. Alvaro, starting from the front row of the grid, huge opportunity here. You've had fantastic pace all weekend. Tell us about how you're feeling going into race 2.
Yeah, for sure. It's better to stay in the front than in the back, not in the grid. But in any case, you know, I make a lot of struggling in the first lap, no? So I will try to use this position to make the best start possible, and don't try to don't lose a lot in the first laps, no? But okay, let's see also the weather, because seems like it could rain, so we'll try to enjoy the race as much as possible.
At least if the rain catches you from the front, it's easier than from further back.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better to be here than in the back.
Oh, best of luck. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, Alvaro Bautista, as we've said, has moved 4 positions forward compared to his original qualifying effort. Interesting to hear from Alvaro that the rain is still in the back of the riders' minds, the cloud's still looming large overhead.
Yeah, and it's a little bit darker. The wind starts to pick up a little bit. The forecast is for rain to come down in the next couple of hours, so we'll see if we're able to get through these 21 laps.
Oh, or if we're not, I'm quite happy for us to have a little bit of drama midway through.
Well, we'll see if we're able to get through the next 9 minutes, and then the race can start, and then obviously we're able to come into the pits and change tyres.
Back to the second row of the grid then, Andrea Locatelli, Xavi Vierke and Axel Bassani. And Bassani has come from nowhere really this weekend. Right decision for him on tyre choice in the Superpole race, but it's a second consecutive top 10. He was 10th in race 1 yesterday. Unusual look to the third row of the grid here with Ryan Vickers and Taz McKenzie both scoring for the first time in the Superpole race. Ryan Vickers with 7th position, his best result yet, and likewise Taz McKenzie P8 for him.
Yeah, and really good effort from Vickers to be able to come away with that in the Superpole race. Now he needs to make sure he's able to score decent points here in the feature length race. And
for McKenzie, truncated season obviously started with MIE. He sat out a round. He's made his return with Bonovo Racing as a replacement for Scott Redding, and to have points on the board in both races so far and an opportunity for much more now in race 2.
Yeah, Taz finished 14th yesterday, 8th in this one, so 2 points in both races. But for him, I think it's been a big step forward, obviously, to get used to the Ducati, and it takes a lot for that. But that's where this morning was good, because that's when your natural talent, more than your feeling with the bike, comes to the fore. He did a good job.
Completing the third row of the grid is Jonathan Rea. The Romantics might have hoped for a victory in the 1000th race, but that was going to be a tall order barring actual rain, and one of the riders who might be hoping for a little bit of wet weather over the course of this 21 lap distance is Jonathan Rea.
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunate for Johnny, just the way that things are going for him and for Yamaha. We'll wait and see what happens for next year. Could well be where he's on that Barney Ducati.
Fourth row of the grid for Nicolo Bulliger, Danilo Petrucci and Alex Lowe. That's a power-packed fourth row of the grid. They're the riders who went the wrong way on tyre choice in the Superpole race. It's cost them a place in the top 9. Bulliger then will line up P10 here. He has been able to work his way through from the fourth row of the grid after the drama in Assen and obviously Misano as well. So let's see what he can do with it here.
Yeah, get behind Bulliger and let him lead the train, because he will come through and make progress in the early laps.
Well, Danilo Petrucci is the best place to capitalise on that, isn't he? Lining up directly alongside him. Bulliger's not been particularly swift away, though, in recent race starts. That's something to look out for, too.
Yeah, nothing wrong with following Petrucci through turn 1 and turn 2, but for Bulliger, we know that he will come good and the pace will come to him, and he'll be able to get himself up into those leading positions.
Yes, although we saw how Andrea Iannone followed Danilo Petrucci through turns 1 and 2 yesterday. That didn't work out too well. Obviously, Petrucci making his return to the track yesterday from the back of the grid, firing his way through for 5th position. It's just been an unlucky weekend for the Barney man.
Yeah, it has, and for Petrucci, the decision to use the inters backfired for him, but it's one of those things that you're either going to be a hero or you're not.
Yes, and on this occasion it wasn't a hero, it was a 0 decision, 0 points on the board. For Alex Lowe's as well, we know that he favours the Superpole race format. Missed the Superpole race though last time out, and then came home in 12th position earlier on today. So 6th place in race 1 shows that the pace is there for Alex Lowe's. We'll see if he's got it again this afternoon.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job yesterday. Probably one of the better races that we've seen from Lowe's, because he got everything he could out of that package.
So on we go to row number 5 with Dominic Egerter, Bahatin Sofoglu and Jari Montella. Egerter taking advantage of a slightly thinner field, it must be said, with only 19 riders on the grid, but hasn't yet managed a top 10 finish this weekend. Had 3 top 10 finishes at the UK round last time out, so looking to further bridge the gap to his teammate Remy Gardner in his absence this afternoon. The points gap is 6 between the 2 GRT bikes. 14th on the grid for Bahatin Sofoglu, and obviously his 11th place on the grid earlier on today, the highest up the order that he has managed to start. In this one, he will surpass Kenan Sofoglu for race starts in World SBK. It was a fairly modest career in the Superbike Championship itself for Kenan, but Bahatin with the Superpole races as well, his one season already surpasses Kenan's. Completing the 5th row of the grid is Jari Montella, and a weekend that hasn't gone to plan for him. Certainly the Superpole race, a disappointment with that retirement. Did well to bounce back with a repaired machine in race 1 and come home for 7th position. It was a busy day for Barney, to say the least.
Yeah, that 7th place finish yesterday was a good effort from Montella, but today a lot more difficult.
Anthony Nelson, down to the grid with you.
Paul Dennen, team principal for Pata Maxxis Yamaha. He's just going to give his best luck to Jonathan Rea. A quick second, the 2 thumbs up, and Paul Andreas had some fantastic pace this weekend. What will it take for him to be able to challenge for the podium? It's 2 4th positions so far.
Yeah, we were a little bit further away yesterday than we kind of hoped. Still a great race, you know, fighting off Danilo and Alex, etc. But yeah, the two factory Ducatis and Toprak just had too much outright pace. We've changed the bike just a little bit, trying to create more rear grip. We're losing off the faster corners onto this home straight and onto the turn 4 onto the back straight. If we can find a little bit more rear grip, maybe these cooler temperatures might help us. So the plan is to try and fight with them for the podium if we can. Of course, Bulaga's starting further back, but I expect to see him within a couple of laps.
Everybody's looking at the skies. Are you expecting any changes to the weather conditions?
Not expecting anything, just hoping for no changes.
Best of luck for the race. Thanks, Paul.
Hoping for no changes because Andrea Locatelli's consistent enough anyway in his own right, and he's not too far away from striking distance for a podium place, particularly if it all gets a little bit spicy, as it has in both of the races so far this weekend here at Balaton Park. Just taking you through the last riders on the grid. Got Tito Rabat on row 6 alongside Michael van der Mark and Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and Zakwan Zaidi then completing the field, the 19th and last runner. But real experience on that 6th row of the grid with Michael van der Mark and Michael Ruben Rinaldi. For van der Mark, just hasn't been anywhere with that BMW, and of course it's galling when you're not making the top 10 and your teammates leading the championship and on a run of consecutive victories. And then for Michael Ruben Rinaldi, his return to the Superbike class has not panned out as he might have dreamed on that Moto X bike. 19 riders in all, 21 laps ahead of us.